Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second episode of A Spot of Hope. Today, the episode is going to be in English, and we have a great and special guest who has enduring such a great battle, yet he is very successful and he lives a very fulfilling life. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcoming my special guest, Bahzad Ballout. Bahzad, how are you, my friend? And welcome, and thank you for joining.
Well, I'll preface by saying I'm considerably honored to be here. Thank you so much for your invitation.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. We're going to dive into a very informative and interesting conversation with Bahzad. But first of all, I have to thank all the viewers or all the followers of WhatsApp Media Network and everybody else. Please make sure you make your comments in the comment box. Share the video so we can reach as much as people as we can. And today's show is going to be about overcoming obstacles and how to live a fulfilling life despite a disability. And in our case tonight, we have a visual disability. People call it legally blind, visually impaired, blind, low vision, you name it. But you know, for Bahzad, it doesn't really matter because he is not even considering it. We'd like to thank all the sponsors of WhatsApp Media Network, and we'd like to thank the sponsors of this show. We got Ali Sharara from Century 21, Karen and Nebersky, and we've got Limo Express, Marwan Faraj, and Sling TV, Sling Arabic TV, over 130 Arabic stations. Please reach out to WhatsApp Media Network for the possibility of getting a 1 week long for free participation with the service. Thank you all so very much. Once again, please make sure you post your comments, share the video so we can reach as much as people as possible. Bahzad, to you, my friend. Just to give people some perspective, we've met back 10 years ago when I came to this country as an immigrant, and I was a freshman and you were a senior. So how have you been since then?
I've been fantastic. It's hard to believe that time has flown so much. But here we are, 10 years later, sitting here, you and I, and we're going to reflect, I assume, and I think have a delightful time. So
absolutely.
I'm very much looking forward to this.
Likewise, yes, time really flew by really fast, and I'm so happy and proud of you. So we're going to talk about your background a little bit before we dive into the actual discussion. If you can, please tell us a little bit more about your background, like where you were, raised, where did you go to school, and whatever you'd like to share with us.
I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you.
Well, as the old adage goes, it's best to begin at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to the United States in 1994 when I was 3 years old, after which I had a bit of a hard time acclimatizing to America. I moved from Lebanon to the US, and it was a little difficult in the beginning simply because I needed to be aware of the fact that it wasn't a country where Arabic was the first language, and having subsisted on Arabic, I needed to understand that English was now the first language, and as a young kid, I missed my country very, very deeply, and I wanted to go back, and it was quite difficult.
Yes.
But over time, as all things are, we have a tendency to become accustomed to that which we don't know by experience. And that's exactly what happened. All of my education took place in the United States, elementary school, middle school, and high school, in the Lincoln Park district specifically. And as you pointed out, I graduated in 2009. Since then, I have gotten my education from Henry Ford College. I had my associate in liberal arts. Then I went to the University of Michigan, Dearborn, where I specialized in Spanish as a major and English as a minor.
Hola. So here we go. That was a really great and quick kind of overview, pretty much since you were little until now, and we're going to dive into that. So let me ask you, which so many people ask, so I'll be asking so many questions, my question as well as the public's question as well. When they hear of someone who is blind, in your case, or visually impaired, or low vision, legally blind, I'm not sure what you prefer, but when they hear of that disability or any other disability, they think of sheltered school or private school or something special. That's what they use, something special, a place that is special. Can you just please, can you elaborate on the type of the school district that you attended?
What I attended had been entirely mainstream. So the way it typically looked was that we would do our work in all of our mainstream classes, math, science, English, social studies, and the like. And then there was one class called VI, and that's where we would go. It was a room dedicated to essentially assisting us with what we need. We had a variety of resources, from Braille books to a Braille printer called the Embosser, and we used equipment in order to tackle what we needed to tackle homework-wise. We had a teacher who was always available to assist us if need be in that room, as well as an assistant or a paraprofessional who would on occasion accompany us to class. Now I do have to underscore that after some time, that accompaniment fell away, so to speak, because we started gaining more and more independence. So for the first couple of weeks, because we hadn't oriented ourselves to the classroom environment, to the teachers and whatnot, she would accompany us for some time. And by us, I'm talking about the rest of the students in the VI room, because there were about 4 or 5 of us usually. So Lincoln Park had a reputable and wonderful VI program, which still, as I understand it, continues today.
Yes, and I can also share with the public, my friend, that I am a product and a graduate of Lincoln Park High School as well, and I can attest that it is great, and I can't really stress enough to thank all the staff, all my classmates, all the teachers, the VI staff, everybody, without getting into the name game, so I don't forget anyone, because they all played a role some way, somehow. And let me ask you a question. When you say about orienting to these new classes, I know that for the vast majority of the students, they do enjoy, changing the classrooms and stuff like that. But for someone who is blind, and they kind of struggle to find the class, like let's say if one class is to the very far side of this first floor and the second class is upstairs in some corner, was that like something that you really had to tackle first thing first before anything else?
Physical orientation is definitely important, because by orienting yourself to a particular environment, be it a class or anything outside, you're essentially saying, okay, well, I know where I'm going, I know where I need to go for the future. And in terms of that, we actually had a mobility instructor who would help us. Now, a mobility instructor, just like the term sounds, is somebody who is dedicated to assisting the visually impaired with regard to travel. So she would come on a weekly basis to help us throughout the school. And as well as that, she'd also be instrumental in allowing us to gain more control in terms of our street crossings, in terms of what's called shorelining and other specific techniques that for somebody who's sighted, all they'd have to do is look in order to get somewhere. But for us, those techniques are relatively important.
We'll talk about all of that, of course. So you passed through the elementary, middle school, and high school, and you graduated. You went to Henry Ford College, you went to University of Michigan, you pursued your degree, and everything seems great on the academic level. And why you chose Spanish and English? We were talking a couple of days back, and you really provided such a very valuable insight and perspective that it did really capture my attention, and I'm pretty sure it did capture so many people who, once they heard about it, and it's going to capture everybody's attention, those who are watching us right now. Can you please share with us why you chose language?
Absolutely. Well, when I was young, I dare say about 7 or 8 years old, I would watch TV. I was a diehard TV lover. And when I say watch, I mean listen. So you had actually pointed this out earlier about how I regard myself. Blind is how I refer to myself, but I do often tend to use the words watch and listen interchangeably, as do many other people who are visually impaired. So I would listen to television shows, which by definition for me is just watching. Because I'm still getting the content, even though it's not in full. And we do have audio descriptive content, which I can describe later. But when I would watch these TV shows, I'd always be fascinated, because on occasion you would have a show that would pepper Spanish as well as English in the content. And I'd always be curious because Spanish would just come about so often in various television shows that I really, really want to know what they're talking about. So when it came to high school and time for our required class, I took Spanish and fell in love with it and pursued it ever since. But I look at it retrospectively as language being another world, a key to another culture. And as I started, I really came to understand why I chose this. I chose it because I wanted to gain an understanding of people, of their culture, and later of their history, stories, and the way they do things.
Interesting. What about as a blind person? Since you said that you prefer to use that term, how does a language help you in communicating? And that's also another interesting point.
Well, a friend and I speak on a regular basis. She is a licensed translator, and she made a very pointed observation which has stuck with me since, so I'm going to share that with you. She said that communication for us is the proverbial key. When it comes to gesturing, that we can't see, so that universal language is blocked for us. But communication is not. So the written word, the spoken word, all of those play a critical role in our lives. So that's really what it boils down to. Without communication, we can't really go about our lives and do things.
Absolutely.
And even gesturing is a form of communication, to be honest with you. It's just not an accessible form of communication to us, but communication as a whole, absolutely accessible.
Sure, I'm going to come back to you, but I just wanted to thank all the people that are watching us. Please make sure that you share the video so we can reach as much as people as possible. Thank our sponsors, sponsor of WhatsApp Media Network, the sponsor of the show, Lemo Express, Marwan Faraj, as well as Ali Shara from Century 21, Karen Nabersky, as well as Ling Arabic TV. Over 130 Arabic channels. Please make sure you communicate and get in touch with WhatsApp Media Network for a whole week of free service. But let's come back to you about an important topic that is now the social aspect of your life. So after we touched on your background, what you do, what did you do for school, we have like the social and like the professional career, which is very important to highlight. So socially now, what is it you're feeling? Like, how do you react when some people, when they first meet you, not only that they rush to judge before they know anything, but what do you feel when someone thinks low of you as a blind person? Like they don't have high expectations, in other words.
In any given circumstance, no matter what it is, our objective, not just as blind people, but as people in general, our general objective, in my opinion, is to give other people perspective. And by giving them perspective, their expectations are going to rise, so we hope. For example, if you're in a job interview, as they say, first impressions make a difference. So for me, talking to somebody is giving them some perspective, telling them about who I am, telling them about what I do. I overall do what anybody else does. And I talk to you or talk to anybody else just as anybody else would.
That's true, but what I meant is, for the first, like at the first, at the very first given chance, people might not think. Now, of course, not everyone. I'm not general. I'm just saying sometimes it happens where people think that, because you're blind, you do nothing. You don't go to school. Or maybe, you went to school, but you don't have a productive life and as busy life as you do, for example. So that's what I meant. Like when people think that, you like, in other words, you have no life. Like you only sit at home, eat, drink, and play games.
Right. So by sharing perspective with people, you're in turn educating them. And that's a philosophy that I have adopted and espoused, because without knowledge, we can't go anywhere, right? Without knowledge, humanity itself is pretty much stagnant. So if you want to spread that awareness, if you want to let people know about who you are and to break that stereotype, because yeah, in some cases, some people do absolutely believe that to be disabled is to be sheltered, to be living in fear, to be hoping for that disability to disappear. But by breaking that stereotype, by having those conversations, that becomes more and more a non-existent concept for some people. And that's kind of what I want to do. I always try to make that awareness known. I always try to spread that awareness, because without awareness, knowledge can't grow. And without knowledge, those stereotypes are going to remain larger than life.
Like, how do you plan on continuing, these efforts? Is it through succeeding, which we're going to talk about the professional path in a bit? Is that how you answer them, like indirectly, like you keep your actions and your accomplishments louder than any word?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, the expression actions speak louder than words definitely carries merit. And if you want to spread that kind of awareness, as I was talking about, it's really important to make all of your actions speak for themselves. What does that mean? It simply means that you'd want to do this, you'd want to allow people to gain an understanding of what blindness is through everything that you do, be it conversing with them, be it going to school. In my case, it's through my work, through my conversations with people, through everything that I do. So it's always important to do that.
When you're with your family, hanging out somewhere at a restaurant or at any given social gathering, which of course it shouldn't be surprising. I'm just trying to ask you some questions that some people ask, and some people might, think about, and so forth. So these questions are available, and they get asked quite many times, even for myself, to be honest with you.
And you hit the nail on the head. I'm sorry to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you really quickly, because you touched on a point that really, to me, speaks volumes. Because that is one of the ways I make that awareness quite known to people. I never mind when somebody asks me a question. Some people may take it defensively, but to ask questions, again, is to gain perspective. And to gain perspective is to gain that modicum of knowledge that we all hope to seek in life, because you can never stop learning, right?
Sure.
So if you can never stop learning, what does that mean? You, as they say, can never stop asking questions. So I don't mind answering questions, because blindness is an integral part of who I am. It forms who I am. It doesn't form 100% of who I am, but it's certainly an important component, as is religion, as is my morals, my precepts, ethics, everything. But I am never, ever opposed to questions, be it about my disability, about my religion, anything.
That's how we, at the end we spread awareness.
Absolutely.
And from the source. I mean, because you live it. Nobody's gonna be in your shoes, even if it's your mom or dad. Of course, big shout out to your mom and dad, your siblings.
They're great.
Let me ask you a question. Absolutely are. For raising such a great, educated, polite, well-accomplished young man like yourself. Yes, of course. Let me ask you a question. What would it be, if you can give me an example of a silly question that people have asked you, or that you consider like out of the norms? Like, since you're blind, like, what do they ask you? How do you wash? How do you eat? How do you do this? How do you do that? Because again, these questions do exist.
Absolutely.
People are watching us might think, oh man, why are you asking these questions? Well, because they are not in our shoes, so they won't be asked questions like that. But someone like you, I might ask you, who cooks for you? Who does this for you? And they quite forget that even if they are sighted, still their mom or wife, does the same for them. But just because we are blind, the stigma kind of takes over more. So what would be a silly question for you that people sometimes have asked you, like you consider it senseless?
Well, there are two instances that I can think of pretty quickly.
Cool.
First and foremost, when I was in kindergarten, we were eating snacks because, I mean, who doesn't love snack time every day, right?
Yeah.
So snack time was quite a thing when we were in kindergarten, just as it was for others and continues to be. Well, in any event, when I was in kindergarten, there was a kid who walked up and rather timidly asked, "Do they eat?" By they, he was referring to my friend and me.
I'm not sure.
Do they eat?
Do you guys eat?
It was just the most phenomenal question I've ever heard, because of course we eat, you know, we're human beings, but it was the innocent curiosity of a child. And the reason I bring it up is simply to say that sometimes that kind of curiosity is innocent everywhere. Because again, if you don't know what something is, you might be asking unaware of the fact that you are unaware of that. So that breeds in that, to me, is innocent. I think innocent curiosity is universal. It impacts children, it impacts anybody who asks such questions. And that's why I really never mind. But the second instance I wanted to share with you didn't exactly happen to me, but it has happened on multiple occasions to multiple people who were visually impaired. A variation of that happened to me. But oftentimes when you're at a restaurant, you get the occasional waiter or waitress who turns to your companion who can see and loudly
what does he want to
asks, "Yep, what does he want to order?" Or what does she want to eat? Or what do they want? And I've been asked a variation of that question when I was at a party, and somebody had wanted to know what his name was, and of course his being myself.
Yeah.
And
so they are talking to whoever is accompanying you, and you are standing right there.
Absolutely.
They're not talking to you. I mean, they are pretty much, you know, talking, you know, to the gentleman or the lady, you know, friend, mom, dad, sister.
Happened to be a couple of friends at the time, who were around me. And I immediately piped up and politely said, "Well, you can always ask me. I'd be happy to answer."
I can talk.
Yeah. Well, and the most important part, again, is not to get defensive. I try to take things with that proverbial grain of salt.
Yes.
I try to answer questions as friendly as possible, because sometimes, again, we might not be aware of the way in which we phrase those questions, and I always try to allow understanding and acceptance for that.
Well, I can share with you a question that a couple of people asked me in one day. That what really made it so weird. The same question, same day. That is, they asked you, "Are you blind?" I said, "Yeah, I am." So they asked me, "Oh, so do you know sign language?"
Yeah, no. We don't know sign language.
Exactly. So you know, so as you said, I take it really wholeheartedly in a very, I mean, I have no hard feeling toward that.
Yeah.
But at the meantime, I mean, we should, you know, sometimes weigh the word or the question before we ask it, because even if it's innocent, even if I'm not aware of something, but at least I have to know that also I'm not harming nobody's feelings. Now, you and I might take it lightly and may take it in a very kind of, you know, cool way, but somebody else might get depressed. We're not exaggerating. Somebody else might become isolated. One word, you know, might draw a big block between you and the society. So that's why, as you said, that's why my next question was, which you brought it up, you know, second instance, which when people do not talk to you, and honestly, I don't really lie to you. I don't like that because if someone is blind, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't mean that he or she cannot talk, unless they have multiple disabilities that prevent them or disable them from talking and hearing and seeing. But you know, see, that's the thing. I'm gonna come back to you, but I just want to thank again all the people that are watching today. The episode is in English. Because our special guest, he is more comfortable in English, but hopefully a couple months down from now, he'll be more in Arabic, be more familiar with everything, so we have him in Arabic, but he got such a wealth that we love to share with all of you guys in English, and hopefully again in a couple months down in Arabic. I'd like to thank What's Up Media Network, all the sponsors, thanks Sling Arabic TV, over 130 Arabic channels. Please get in touch with What's Up Media Network for a one free service. Make sure to do that. Also, big thanks to our sponsors, of the Spot of Hope sponsors, Ali Sharara from Century 21, Karen Nabursky, real estate, of course, and Level Express from Marwan Faraj. In 5 minutes, we're gonna jump into a quick, commercial break. But before then, I wanted to ask you, you try your best, and why I'm focusing on this, because social part is, as you said, an integral part of anybody's life too.
Yep.
So even if you try your best to remain as kind and calm and cool about answering these questions, but there gotta be one instance where someone really got your nerves. And
Yes.
I'm not saying that you became mad and you start screaming and doing all that stuff. No, but where you really became annoyed, although you tried to come across nice, yet the other party, insisted on not doing, on going that route. Can you tell us at least one scenario when that happened?
Well, I remember when I was in, I dare say, first or second grade, happily passing out candy. It happened to be
So you were
Halloween.
passing out candy?
Yep, I
In
was.
In the classroom?
No, it was outside my home
Okay.
during one chilly day in Halloween.
Okay.
And there were kids who were knocking at the door.
Okay.
I, again, had been cheerily passing out lollipops and Tootsie Rolls and what have you. But there came a point when a woman stopped by with her children.
Okay.
Now I hadn't been cognizant of the fact that she was there
Okay.
until she made it quite clear.
Okay. So obviously you didn't see her physically, so
No.
yeah, obviously.
So
So,
it's
a woman and her kids, a
Yeah.
mom with her kids. Okay.
It's worth mentioning that I have been born blind. I was born with Leber's congenital amaurosis, which is a lifelong eye condition, as they say, that isn't subject to change. So the only visual aspect I'm privy to is light.
Okay.
That's all I can see.
Okay. Well,
So-
hopefully, God's will, something is gonna happen. Miracles will happen, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll come to that actually. I know that I did not start the show with that, but we'll come to that at the end.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, about the medical aspect.
So I was in a very, let's say, satisfactory mood. Like I said, I was
You were happy, yeah.
content. I was passing out candy. I was a kid.
You were
full of
participating in
energy.
everything.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. Well, she suddenly said, and this was in Arabic, "Oh my God, he's blind." And the word she used to denote blindness
Ama?
was exactly, that was it. And I find that to be a particularly harsh denotation because I don't know, for some reason I've always found it to be denigratory, demeaning. So as a kid, I didn't really know what to say, but it really
you understood.
Exactly. It really did get on my nerves. And I passed out the candy as a way to demonstrate the fact that, hey, even though I am blind, I'm still able to do what everybody else is doing.
Exactly.
I gave her the candy.
And this is a grown individual.
Exactly. And despite that, despite the fact that I demonstrated that to her, I showed her my capabilities, she insisted, as you pointed out, she insisted that it almost didn't even matter to her. She was like, "Oh, thank you." And you could hear the simpering tone that she was using. "Oh, thank you. All right, have a good day. Bye-bye." And she left. And again, you don't have to be sighted in order to tell whether
Absolutely.
somebody has
Trust me,
pity.
I hear people's faces.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, we can tell from their voice tone if they are happy, if they are mad, if they are
Yeah,
sad,
it's no
they're
myth that we can hear
sleepy,
smiles,
tired.
you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
I think anybody
I
can.
can hear their smile
Or-
too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we have our own ways, guys. But let me ask you this question: so when you go through that from a grown woman, whether wherever the case is, in any place, not particularly, in your neighborhood, although that happened in your neighborhood.
I think that was the worst part about
Yeah,
it.
that was
Because it was so close.
Sure, I understand. So,
So close to home.
that takes us to the last question before we go out of the commercial break. So you are sending a big message for those who believe that they've got an eyesight, yet they are blinded when it comes to their hearts. They are heart blinded and their eyes are sighted. So you went to school, you get your stuff together, you work, which is going to be our next talk after the commercial break. You are quite a great son, great brother, responsible, And then we have so many people who are gifted and blessed with all the physical senses. Yes, they have an invisible weakness somewhere, no doubt about that. Nobody's perfect. But yet they have all the physical senses, and you are doing quite way better than they are. I mean, of course, what kind of feeling that instill in you? When you hear of a neighbor's son, for example, a troublemaker, or a cousin, or a friend's whatever, brother or sister, they have everything, yet they are not, they're not doing anything in their life. They have no purpose, no value.
It's very important to recognize that everybody has a story. Every single person has an instance when they felt slighted, they felt challenged. I mean, I do, they do. And in order to understand a person, really to understand them, you have to understand their story. And that implies where they came from, where their challenges had derived. So for me, I try not to judge a person so harshly. Do I feel a little, let's say, upset or unhappy because some people are engaging in drugs and some people are engaging in all of these seeming atrocities? Absolutely, I do, because I think that everybody is intelligent and everybody in their own way has a path that they can follow and that they should follow.
Sure.
But when they stray from that path, I wonder why, and that does upset me. But at the same time, I really don't know what they're going through. And I think that, from a religious standpoint, and this touches not only on the Islamic faith, but I think it impacts and encompasses the Christian faith,
everybody,
Judaism.
Absolutely.
We can't exactly be the judging personnel, individuals, what have you, of these people.
Of course.
So as upset as we might be, we have to come to understand one concept. In order to try to recognize and understand where a person is coming from, you have to understand their story. And by that logic, we can't judge them 150%.
Sure. We'll come to that question because I think, I'll change the wording a little bit. But before we go on to the commercial break, I want to big shout out for all the sponsors once again. What's Up Media sponsors, Think Arabic TV, over 130 Arabic channels. Please get in touch with What's Up Media Network for a free 1 week free service. And then big shout out also for the Spot of Hope show sponsors, Lemmo Express, Marwan Faraj, Ali Shara Real Estate, Century 21. Commercial break real fast, and we will come back. Stay in. Welcome back, everybody, to the Spot of Hope, the second episode with Bahzad Ballout, who is a University of Michigan Dearborn graduate and a technology trainer, as well as now we're going to get into the career path that he is doing. He has just embarked a few months back on another role, and now it's more of a leadership role in a technology-related company for the blind that helps them in their daily activities and even at work, at school, and pretty much from the smallest to the biggest thing. So he's going to tell us more about it. Bahzad, we're going to jump into the career path. But before that, I just want to elaborate on the question that I asked you, as I said before the commercial break. What I meant was, of course, we are not here to judge. Who are we to judge? Judging us for God, of course. First and foremost, regardless of any circumstance. I just meant that sometimes you find it really incredible how people with little and minimal resources, they can make really everything out of their life. And then you find people that are very spoiled, they have everything, yet they can do way better. That's really just what I meant in a nutshell. Just to give you an idea. I mean, I'm sorry if I did not word it right.
No, you're fine.
Absolutely. So just to jump into your career, so if you can talk about like what jobs, because this is another question people ask. Oh, do you work? Like, yeah, I get it. You went to school and you graduated, and you could have been the #1 person in your class. But do you work? So if you can just share with us, like your work history thus far.
Certainly. Well, in 2009, during my first year of college, I had been doing homework, specifically trying to compose an essay for one of my English classes. I was taking an English 131 course at Henry Ford, and I got a phone call from a woman by the name of Joanne, and she was my counselor.
Yep, shout out to her.
Yep, Joanne is awesome.
Yes.
From the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. And for those who don't know, let me just touch on that really quickly.
Sure.
The Bureau of Services for Blind Persons provides assistance to people who are visually impaired in many capacities, be they in high school or in college, by arming them with the necessary skills they need in order to gain more independence, and they also help pay for college as well. So they do quite a number of things. They also help, if I understand correctly, people find employment through the commission, or as it's called, the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. They help with that as well. In any case, I received a phone call, and she told me there's a gentleman from Iraq who really needs some assistance in terms of his computer. And at first I was a bit hesitant. She called me because she knew I had the language acquisition. I could speak Arabic and help him, and I was also blind and had the necessary skill set in order to tackle the computer and everything. But I expressed some apprehension because I hadn't really done anything like that before. But I decided to try to dive headlong into it, and really what's important to recognize is if you don't try something, you're not really going to know what it's like. You're not really going to succeed. So I dove headlong into the venture, and I had been teaching assistive technology at that point just for my first time. But that first time stretched into, I think 9-10 years.
Sure.
So
yeah. Just to define, what does he mean by assistive technology? What you mean by that is pretty much assistive technology that would be like screen readers, specialized softwares for the blind, and how to use computers, of course, like a keyboard. And
so we as visually impaired people use what's called adaptive equipment. So we have specialized, as Khodr rightly pointed out, screen reading technology. So that means that our computers provide speech output, and we in turn interact with our computers via the keyboard. We don't use the mouse, and those screen readers vocalize what we need right on screen. So they tell us that we are in a Microsoft Word document, for example, or they tell us that we're on a website, and then we in turn have different key commands that we would memorize that would enable us to interact with the screen just as a sighted person would, say, with the mouse.
Sure.
So that, in addition to the iPhone, which again has a screen reader and we interact with it via gestures and specialized equipment like the Victor Stream, which is kind of like an iPod, all of that is basically, it constituted what I had done within the last 9-10 years.
And you teach all of that?
Exactly.
iPhones, computers, this and that. So you started back in 2009, so we're talking 11 years.
Yeah.
God bless. I mean, that's quite, I mean, you've definitely impacted and influenced so many people's lives, students, individuals, young and old, as we say. Let's say now, currently you've embarked a few months back at IRA. IRA is a company. Can you tell us more about IRA and pretty much what you do there, and what does the future hold for you?
Absolutely.
In that company or that capacity?
Well, so for those who don't know, IRA, spelled AIRA, stands for Artificial Intelligence Remote Assistance. And the primary objective of IRA is to give assistance to people who are blind or visually impaired by connecting them to a highly trained individual who can perform a number of tasks for them, be it reading mail, helping them travel by serving as a guide, telling them where, for example, the nearest Starbucks might be, or let's say if they want to go and traverse a mall, the agent would guide them as to how to maneuver the store, etc. And they can do a lot of online tasks, so any website that's inaccessible to us, because by and large, we have screen readers, but sometimes the website accessibility means that screen readers can't exactly decipher the content. So an IRA agent, just like a pair of eyes, because they are, by and large, that, they can help you maneuver the computer, the internet, all of that. So that either works via a pair of glasses or a camera on your smartphone. And I started in the billing department and have continued thus, but now I have quite a large responsibility and I love it. I maintain their IRA Active program. What that means is if somebody cancels the service, or because it is a subscription service, but now you can try it free for 5 minutes at a time. But anyway, because again, it's comparable to Netflix and Audible, because their plans are subscription based, if somebody wants to cancel, or if somebody wants to try to use IRA, or somebody who has used it and maybe wants some tips about how to use it, that's where we would put them in this program. This program is just a way for them to understand what the service is all about, how to use it, what it can do, etc., etc. And we pair them with somebody who is what's called an explorer. That's what IRA calls its customer base, because they explore all the time. You know, they do various tasks all the time, and the tasks, as I said, range considerably. But we pair them with somebody who is well-skilled with the service, and they basically act as a guide and mentor.
Yes.
And I maintain that. I manage communication. I email all of the people who are in the program, as well as correspond with the coaches who are mentoring them about how to use the service. So it closely aligns with what I had done, in that I'm also promoting teaching, which is something I really love. I love teaching.
So basically, just to give people just an idea more specifically, so let's say if a blind person wanted to go shopping and he or she is struggling to find a certain grocery item, they can, connect to IRA app through the app, and then they can literally show them, like, go left, go right, this is that, this is this, or if they get a hold of something, they can read the mail, the letter, describe the photo, even inaccessible websites, or even to find something. So pretty much it's like their eyes, IRA being the blind people's eyes. And now I want to ask you about the subscription. Those who are interested in downloading that, blind people who are interested in downloading it, especially blind people. So is that an app that they download off Apple Store or Play Store?
Absolutely correct.
And then once they sign up, there are different levels of subscriptions?
There are, yeah. So there are different levels of subscriptions, in addition to, as I mentioned, the free 5-minute tier. What that means is that anybody, and that's what I really, really love about IRA, is the fact that they try to accommodate as many people as possible. So for those who are unable to afford or pay for the service, for the subscription specifically, they can try the free 5-minute tier, or even for those who aren't really familiar with what the service does. The 5-minute tier basically enables them to make a call, actually an unrestricted number of calls each day for 5 minutes, and after the 5 minutes, when they're done, if they want to do another task, they can call again. So a lot of tasks can be done within about 5 minutes, be it identifying a package like Oreos, for example, reading a piece of mail, and all of that, again, as long as it's done within 5 minutes, that can be done without restrictions. Doesn't matter how many calls you make.
It's for free, even if
And
you have a
for free.
subscription. The first 5 minutes of your subscription, because
Yep.
they go by minutes. That's
Exactly.
the subscription.
Yep.
So that's why he's saying 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 5 minutes free for anybody who wants to give it a try. Again, you're not restricted by the number of calls you make. Now, when it comes to subscriptions, that's correct. Your first 5 minutes of every call is free, after which your plan's minutes would be used. So we have subscriptions ranging from $29 to $199.
A month.
Yeah, a month. And that gives you a number of minutes, and there's an option to purchase minutes. There's a lot of flexibility.
Yes, that's really cool. I mean, for everybody, I mean, from different, socioeconomical statuses.
Absolutely.
$29 a month. Yeah, it can be, it's not a lot for some people, but then the quality and the service that you're receiving in return is beyond amazing, and I'm pretty sure it's going to help a lot of people. So now you're kind of in charge of the active program. Where do you see yourself within that company? I mean, you've been there for 5 months.
Yeah.
Right? 5-6
Hard to
months, I
believe.
think. Yeah, 5-6 months already. You sound and seem to be doing great in there. Not surprising. So where do you see yourself? I mean, is it going to be same position for a while, or you think you will get promoted?
I love helping people. I'm not exactly sure where I'll be in a couple of years. I might take a larger leadership position. That's the hope, of course. I think, you always hope for promotion.
Yes,
right?
for the better, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that, huh?
Yeah. So I think that'll be excellent, for a larger leadership position in the long run. And that'll enable me to help people even further, which is what I really love to do. I did that in terms of teaching. I loved helping people, and IRA enables me to do that as well, and that's what I love to do.
Sure, that's really great. But let me touch a little bit on your medical case, a medical condition, if you don't mind. So as you know, for blindness, there are so many reasons, so many factors, so many diseases that even contribute to blindness and lead to blindness. You said that you were born blind. I just wanted to end, not to end the show quite yet. We have about 10 minutes to go, but I just wanted, to have it like as our last discussion point before we go to the conclusion.
Yeah.
So you were born with LCA.
Yep.
Yeah. So is that coming is that like kind of family history, or is that something that you only possess? If you don't mind me asking.
No, not at all. Like I said, never mind questions.
Appreciate it.
So, yes, that condition is definitely genetic in nature. If I understand correctly, that's really the impetus for why we came to the United States, was to find a way, some kind of solution for our visual impairment.
Or at least better life.
Yeah.
I mean, at least, if you can do that.
Yeah, and that came later. So we actually recognized...
But the first idea was hopefully for a treatment.
Exactly. And we recognized that living in the United States meant leading a better lifestyle, because as much as Lebanon is rich in terms of its culture, in terms of its tourism, regrettably, it doesn't have as many resources for those people who are visually
Which
impaired.
big shout out to Lebanon. I mean, I know that it's our home country, and we love it
without a
deeply.
doubt.
But unfortunately, due to the limited resources, I mean, unfortunately.
And I'm hoping that sees an improvement. I
Hopefully,
really am.
I'm really hoping that, and I've always told myself, I mean, at any given capacity and opportunity, if I can serve my home country, I won't say no for a bit. So, but due to that limitation in resources, you and your family decided to come over here.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then so LCA is in the family. So do you mean like you have cousins, extended family members that are also blind?
Yes, in fact, my siblings are in my immediate family. So I have a sister who is blind and another sister who is blind and has autism. She's low functioning on the autism spectrum. And then I also have a cousin who is blind. He's actually a news anchor in Lebanon. And I have another relative.
Is that your first cousin? Like,
He's not my first cousin.
But extended cousin.
He's definitely someone. Yeah, an extended family member. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And I have another relative who is blind as well, and he was blind from birth. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very much from the or in the family.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you've seen by many doctors. What is the last say on that? Like, are they projecting any treatments? Because now we are seeing so many inventions for some eye disorders, and some people are or were totally blind and they see light, which is better than I mean. In their case, some people they used to see some light and now they see some because of these electronic eyeglasses and stuff like that. But to your disorder, is there anything new in that regards? Is it possible?
You know,
Of course, I mean God's hand. I mean at the end, but
yeah, for sure. Last I checked, I don't believe so. Like I said, it's a lifelong eye condition that will remain relatively stagnant. It won't change anytime soon. But, as much as that, it doesn't make me happy, but it also doesn't leave me feeling gloomy.
So you're used to it.
Yeah, I'm used to it. Exactly.
You're used to it.
Because I was born that way.
Understand.
And even if somebody, because I have actually worked and continue to work with people who experienced vision loss.
Yes.
And even though they have lost their vision, and for people who might lose their vision, that's called macular degeneration, whereby the person...
Glaucoma. Or,
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Whereby the person in question will eventually lose some, if not all of their vision. There really is hope out there, especially these days, because the technology is prevalent, the assistance is abundant. So I just want our viewers to know never to lose hope, because it's out there and very much alive.
Absolutely, especially that so many people might not even realize, as much as the ophthalmology kind of world, like meaning the eye disorders and all the stuff are complex, it is the most, if not among the most, if not even the most fast growing and advancing field in the medical field.
Without a doubt.
Yes, so I really hope that one day through the gene therapy or genetic therapy or the stem cells, I hope that they can come up with something, because as you said, we are witnessing a big revolution when it comes to technology, medical and science, all that stuff. So
very
we hope
exciting.
things work. Yeah, absolutely.
The self-driving car, they say, is forthcoming.
Have you tried
really
that, by the way?
that. No, you know what? They had a convention this summer. It was the National Federation of the Blind Convention. I believe they had.
Did you attend that? Are you part of that, by the way?
No, but I heard a lot about it. I had a couple of friends who attended, and they had gotten an opportunity to experience the self-driving car. I was so jealous. I was like, that's so awesome.
Actually, it's quite impressive. I tried it myself.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
awesome.
And it's really quite impressive. And I'm hoping that it's going to be out soon. Now, the idea and the part is out there, but the only thing that engineers are talking about is how they prepare the infrastructure, the whole universe, or at least the streets for now, to be ready, because these cars will be communicating, among each other, so it's not going to be as simple. They have to work on the satellites, they have to work on all these radio systems, all the computerized, the sensors, stuff like that. So it's not going to be there tomorrow, but the item will be ready 2 to 5 years from now. That's what I heard. And then to get everything good to go, like to be something normal, could be next 10 to 20 years.
Most prevailing for me, though, would be safety. I always take safety into consideration.
Yeah.
So I might be a bit
honestly.
mistrustful of cars that drive themselves, at least in the beginning. But I think with everything else, you accustom yourself to it.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Well, we have about 5 minutes remaining, and we're going to talk about a little bit about your future. Let me ask you, if you don't mind me asking as well, about marriage. I mean, now you work, you went to school, and you got a job, and now, you live quite a successful life, and you're independent, you're self-sufficient. Have you thought about that? As a blind person, does it fear you, people's rejection because you're blind? You might be the best morally built person, you might be the most hardworking individual, but just because you're blind, do you fear that blindness will stand in the way?
I'll be perfectly truthful with you. There is that tiny bout of fear dancing here and there, flitting to and fro, as they say. Absolutely. I think that it's very natural to feel a measure of fear about rejection. And I extend that to not only myself, but to everybody, be they disabled or non-disabled. But for me especially, it's quite palpable.
It's more though.
Yeah, it's quite palpable. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. It's
Yeah.
more. People will judge based upon how you look, the appearance, even. You
Yeah.
know, like what you can visibly do.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes they forget about everything great you've done or you accumulate, and then all they remember is, oh, he's blind or she's blind or he's in a
Right.
wheelchair or she's in a wheelchair. So this is not only about blind people. I'm just talking about disabilities in general.
Absolutely.
Yes, especially in our culture. I mean, let's not even hide it. And
Right.
you know, God willing, there'll be a show about that very soon, ladies and gentlemen, about, you know, marriage and the social life for disabilities. And I'm going to bring successful couples. I mean, that's not going to be about us to talk about it, because there are successful couples that are, even both that are disabled, or one of them at least, and they live a great life.
And that's what I was going to tell you. You know, I look at it this way. Attraction is mutual when both parties
Are
agree.
convinced,
Yeah, exactly. When both parties agree that the qualities that you have, the good qualities, undermine the bad, or undermine the qualities, in my case, in your case, and in others' cases, that you don't have control of.
Sure.
And by that logic, again, that leads to knowledge, understanding of who we are. And how do we gain that? Well, we have to be conversational. We have to talk to them. We have to tell them about ourselves. We have to dialogue. We have to show them what we can do, just like everybody else. And I hope that in the future, my impressions, as well as those impressions of everybody else's, but my impressions make an impact. And that's all I can do, is to try.
Well, I'm pretty sure she'll be lucky. That lady who hopefully will be your wife soon, man. Why you be married? Why not?
Yeah.
She'll be lucky
Thank
to have
you.
someone educated, as polite, as hardworking as yourself. You have a
I
great,
appreciate that.
kind mom and dad, and
I
great
owe-
sibling. Yeah. So.
Let me just, I just want to
Sure.
give a huge shout out
Yes.
to my parents.
I
because
second that.
They are, you know, family is the bread and butter of so much in your life.
Yes.
They can be the foundation of all of what you do. And my parents are that. They underpin pretty much my entire existence from the get-go. They've spurred me on. They've been endlessly supportive and unflaggingly loving. So to them, I owe so much, and I don't think I can ever repay them.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely, and
they're so wonderful.
absolutely are wonderful, and you know, I really pray that God keep them and keep you and keep all your loved ones healthy, stable, prosperous, and I wish all your dreams come true. What would be a
Send the
final
same to
word?
you, sir.
Thank you. What would be a final word they like to say to the community, to the public, to the viewers? Disabled or not, you know, what would be something that you like to end the show on? On
Well,
what kind of note?
And I keep trailing back to this because to me it's fundamental. Knowledge is power. I have an expression that I often love using. Knowledge is power, as we say, and for me, learning it is electric. That basically means that when I learn it, I'm exhilarated. I'm edified because it's so important to gain that foothold, because that's what knowledge is. It's a block of stability. It can be progress. It can manifest into anything. So do research if you'd like. Never stop learning. If you have any questions about those with disabilities, always investigate. Go online. You know, there are plenty of websites. For example, there's this wonderful blog I'd love to recommend. It's called Where's Your Dog? And it's somewhat satirical, but it's so well written and so insightful because it provides perspective on those who are visually impaired and addresses other disabilities as well. And it has all sorts of topics.
Sure.
So definitely, if you want, the internet is at your fingertips with a plethora of information if you have it. Always do some research, always learn. And for me, I mean, if you ever see me, if I ever meet you, don't ever be afraid to ask questions. If you're afraid to ask somebody with a disability, Google is all of our friends, right? So ask Google and see. You know, don't ever stop learning, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, and We really thank you so much, Bahzad,
thank
for your
you. My
time, and we
goodness.
thank you for that note. Yes, always we have to expand our network, and we have to get out of our comfort zone, and to
Absolutely.
ask the right people, so we can get the right information. Bahzad, thank you so much for joining us, and allow me please to conclude. As you guys can see, that blindness is truly not when you lose your eyesight. It's really when you lose the inner vision in your heart, and when you lose hope, and when you have no more purpose or value behind your well-being on this earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Bahzad represents someone who has been, again, battling such a really quite tough battle, yet he has been able to overcome each and every single obstacle. So this is a living proof of faith, motivation, inspiration, and perseverance. I would like at the end to thank What's Up Media Network for allowing me and my show, A Spot of Hope, as well as all other shows, to air and to motivate and to benefit people. Big thanks to all the sponsors of What's Up Media Network, Sling Arabic TV. We got over 130 Arabic stations, as well as if you get in touch with What's Up Media Network, you are eligible to get 1 week, full week of free service, as well as big thanks to Limo Express, Marwan Faraj, and Ali Sharara, real estate agent, Century 21, for supporting the mission and vision of this show. A Spot of Hope will continue to stream every Tuesday, so we will see you all in an Arabic episode next Tuesday about autism. So stay tuned next Tuesday at 7:30 only and exclusively on What's Up Media Network. Good night, everybody.